They can still hear you, Kim.
Oh, look at it's giving.
They can still hear you.
As people are starting to attend the webinar, my name is Donald Ortel. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Park Foundations. If you can hear me, in your little chat button on your panel, please send me a note to say that you can hear me. Thank you, Amber. Can anyone else hear me?
Yeah. Well, no. You need some light behind you. Oh, you should.
We're starting to get attendees to actually sign into the webinar. We will get started in just a few minutes. We'll give people another minute or two and then we'll get started. Again, thank you all very much for joining. My name is Donald Ortel. I am the Executive Director of the National Association of Park Foundations. Today's webinar is being produced by the National Association and is entitled, So Your Local Park Foundation Needs a Strong Marketing Plan. The National Association of Park Foundations is the national leader in providing knowledge and skills to local park foundations, your volunteers, and other citizens who work to enhance and strengthen the park systems in your communities. We have a vision to build effective, active, and local park foundations, volunteers, and other citizens that support their park systems to enhance the park experience in their communities. Today's webinar is being brought to you by Recognition Services Group. Recognition Services Group is proud to partner with the National Association. They have been providing recognition services for donors for over 25 years. You might have seen some of their work when you visit institutions, educational institutions, perhaps hospitals or religious institutions. Most of their work is in the way of donor wall displays and other recognition signage. They are a sponsor of the National Association and, quite honestly, represent the one piece of a marketing plan that many of us forget, and that's the marketing to our donors. The National Association of Park Foundations is funded by the Foundation for Sustainable Parks and Recreation. They serve as a resource for park and recreation professionals and have a positive impact on the health and viability of youth, families, and communities. Just a few rules of the road for today's webinar. You all should see a control panel displayed on your screen. If you would like to ask a question, please type it into the question section. If you'd like to chat with me individually, please do so through your chat button. Any questions that might come through that I can answer directly to you, I will. Some of your questions I will be able to get onto the webinar. We are moving into a part of our webinar today where the marketing strategies are not necessarily something that we would advocate to be one-dimensional. We do advocate a diverse marketing strategy, one that will actually involve many ways that you have at your disposal locally, whether it be through your local newspapers, your local televisions, your other forms of media. The two main focus areas that we will be focusing in on today will be social media marketing and development of a case statement. We'll have two expert speakers today to share with you their views. Kymberlee Raya, who has an extensive background in marketing with emphasis in branding and offers almost 20 years of marketing and branding expertise. She will speak to us about social marketing. And Amber Miller, who is the former founding executive director of the Omaha Park and Recreation Foundation, she will speak with us about the importance of the development of a case statement for your park foundation. So your local park foundation needs a marketing strategy, and gosh, when you look at it, you think, where do I get started? I mean, there's so many things: logos, taglines, brochures, advertising. Where do we start? Well, today we're going to cover some of those specific items. We are going to talk about some components of a diverse marketing plan. What is the role of your foundation board and your volunteers? And as I mentioned, we'll also get into some social media and case statements. So one of the things that we want to mention before we actually get to talking to Kymberlee is in your marketing plan, whether you currently have one or whether you're contemplating one, make sure that it complements the marketing of your current park department or park district. Complement, complement, complement. You want to be connected with your park department or park district in many ways, not the least of which is through your marketing plans. Have similar, perhaps maybe complementary logos. When you are putting out press releases or when you are putting out brochures, make sure that you are complementing the same marks and same marketing that currently is being used for your park department or park district. Develop a relationship with your park department or park district graphic designer. This would really, really help in the area of making sure that when people look at your park foundation marketing, they know that you're actually connected with your park department. Brag about what you're doing. Use these resources at your disposal when you're putting into your action your marketing plan. If you have a local cable television station, try and perhaps maybe get interviewed on that. Maybe even develop your own TV program. Make sure that you use your board and your volunteers as word-of-mouth marketing ambassadors in your local community. Those people can be very, very important, just as important as a brochure, just as important as a case statement, just as important as perhaps maybe a press release. Develop social media. It's one of the most affordable ways of marketing to your donors. And we'll learn a little bit about that in just a second. Don't forget, A comprehensive marketing plan should involve donor recognition. So let's talk social media. At this point, I'd like to invite Kymberlee Raya. Kymberlee, can you turn your camera on?
Hi, everybody.
Kymberlee, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into your part of the presentation.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me today. My name is Kymberlee Raya. I hold a master's degree in branding and 20 years experience in marketing and advertising. My specialty today is social media marketing and helping brands grow online. So the first slide that I came up with, I actually spoke last week in Hollywood at a national conference. So all of the relevant stats on this slide are accurate and timely. Before I get into developing a strong strategy, here are a couple of things that I know. Half of the world is under 30 years old. So if we're not targeting our millennials as part of our Park Foundation strategy, it's something to think of and can be very important. Other things I know, 96% of consumers start their search online today. So we need to have a mobile strategy when marketing our Park Foundation. I also know this. Of the 96% of consumers that start their search online, Google is king. Most people don't take advantage of Google's social media platform, which is called Google+. If people are searching on Google, we want to make sure that our brand and our social media lives and breathes on Google. So if you're not doing Google+, I highly recommend you add that to your social media strategy. 85% of the time, consumers are looking for their mobile device. So we want to be sure that our website, that our social media strategy is fit and resourceful on the mobile device. And guess what, everybody? Grandma is the largest growing sector on social media. So we can see from under 30 to the grandmas, we've got a vast population we can really access to grow our Park Foundation board and interest. We also know that women are on social media and women tell women. So if we can get the word out about our Park Foundation, we can increase our exposure and our engagement. We also know that photos and videos are the #1 thing to be incorporating in your social media strategy. So if we're putting together a content calendar for what we're going to post and what we're going to tweet, we really want to be sure we take advantage of using photos and videos. They're extremely viral and people like to share them. And as Donald said earlier, bragging works. So letting people know of the good things that you're doing for your local park, in your community, so that others will want to take part in what you're trying to accomplish.
Kymberlee, before you go on to the next slide, there was a question. Somebody had asked if the PowerPoint presentation today will actually be available to our attendees and those that are unable to attend. And the answer is yes. We will both have you can review this webinar in its entirety because we are recording it, and so it'll be available via the National Association website. And then for those of you who would like to have a copy of the PowerPoint, please email me, and I'll give you my email at the end of the presentation, and I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of the PowerPoint. Kymberlee, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you're fine. So a few other things that I know that are really important. When people start to talk about social media strategy with me, I have to remind of a few key points. One of them is this today. 60% of anyone being found in organic search is your website. So taking a look at the website that you have for things like keywords. So when we sit with a brand new Park Foundation or an existing one, we ask a couple of critical things. Give me the 20 to 25 words that your Park Foundation wants to be found when searched. Because if those words, those 20 to 25 words, aren't used on the website, it's not going to help you be found if someone's trying to find you. The other 40% of you being found today on the internet is social media marketing. Excuse me, I said that all backwards. Let me come back and do that again. 60% of you being found today is social media marketing. It used to be your website, and now today we know social media is #1 and your website is 40%. but 20 to 25 words. As you develop your social strategy, I need to know what those words are so that as we build a website that's strong with good content, as we're putting together our social media content, those words need to be incorporated when you're posting and when you're tweeting about your park foundation. Let's not forget, we have analytics on every single one of these platforms. We can take a look inside our analytics on Facebook, on Twitter, on all of the platforms, and we can see what's working, what posts are getting the most mileage, which are getting the most engagement, and unfortunately, which ones are having crickets, where no one's paying attention or sharing them, so that we can tweak our marketing strategy and our social strategy to be more effective. And we develop content 24/7. People ask me all the time, Kim, how many times am I supposed to post on Facebook? And I'll remind them, posting one time a day takes 12 hours to gauge the success of any post that you do. On Twitter, it could be multiple times a day. And on one of our hottest ones for park foundations is Instagram, right? Instagram is full of pictures and videos to showcase your beautiful park. But Instagram is also one time a day. And when I talk about the times to post on social media, I also remind everybody there's no quick fix. We can't take one picture of our gorgeous park and throw it on every platform without being a little bit more mindful of the culture. Facebook, it's a backyard barbecue, right? We're posting our babies and our kitties and our pot roast. So that picture of our park would be posted with that culture in mind. Whereas Twitter is real-time news and promotion, limited by characters. So that same picture would be condensed in how we can describe it and more of a digital newspaper that Twitter's culture is. Whereas if we were going to post it on LinkedIn, for example, we know that's business-to-business networking, professional networks, professional people. So we want to make sure that our language reflects that platform as well. So as we talk about the content we can develop and the pictures and the videos we'll use, each of our platforms has a different culture. And I'll remind you that within your own analytics, you'll be able to see when you post something, what time of day is best, what day of the week is best, because each of the park foundations that we market for have a different time. Some is 7 to 9 p.m., some are Saturday at noon. But the good news is each one of your Facebook pages and Twitter profiles has analytics for you to be able to look at to define the best time of day as you put together your daily diet and exercise of social media marketing. And I did throw in here just one more small piece because part of our entire marketing process, right, is several things. It's a buffet of activities that make us successful. And one of them, and a strong one for us, is email marketing. So I'd included it on this particular slide to remind you, we're doing social media marketing on a daily basis, but we're also doing our email marketing. And a few chicken nuggets of good information that I included here is 70% of somebody opening up your email is your subject line alone. So make sure it's something that will catch their attention to want to open it. Keep the length of your email short. Anything below the fold of the monitor should not be relevant in your messaging to your audience. Adding video to your email marketing. It increases an open rate of 75% if you add a video. And then with each and every email that you send, make sure there's a call to action at the end so you can gauge your success of email marketing.
Kymberlee, let me interject with a question that came in. How important is it that the social media marks, whether it be your Facebook page, whether it be your email signature line, how important is it in the overall branding strategy to make sure that all of your marks are similar?
When you say marks, are you talking about the brand of stuff you might post and use in your social media?
I think what they're referring to is their logos and you know, the look and feel of their Facebook page in relation to all the other things that they can produce, their brochures, the other things that perhaps maybe their park department is doing in the way of graphic design. How important is it from a social media standpoint and a branding standpoint that all of these things are uniform?
That's a great question. So I have two answers for you. One of them is, let's remember, a 2-year-old can recognize 200 brand logos at age 2. So having your brand crystal clear is extremely important today. So that is number one. Number two, when we do things for our clients like the cover photos for Facebook or the Twitter backgrounds, we make sure that it matches the brand so that it is extremely consistent. When people see us on Facebook or Instagram or by brochure, that is absolutely that Park Foundation. So making sure our colors match, our logos are included, our fonts match, and even the images that we use around our Park Foundation can really help keep a consistent message out there in a world that's inundated with advertising.
One other thing about another question that came in from Chuck in Shanahan, Illinois. How important is it, and can you give some examples of calls to action to use when using email?
That's a great question. So I ask our client and I say, what are you trying to accomplish with your email marketing this month or your social media? And once I understand better, for example, you know what, Kim, we're going to send out an email marketing and we really have no followers online. So I'd really like our call to action this time to be, here are the live links for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and Google+. Do us a favor and follow us online. That might be a starter call to action. Secondary call to action, we're looking for volunteers for our upcoming events. We're looking for board members. Click here to fill out a quick form if you're interested in helping out. We're building our YouTube channel of videos of our park. So the call to action may be, find us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel to keep updated with all that we're doing at Shanahan Park Foundation. Does that help?
Thank you, Chuck, for that question. And I do remind all of the attendees on the line, if you have a question and you'd like to ask it, please use the question section of the control panel or the chat button on the control panel to communicate with me, and I will forward those calls onto the speaker. Kymberlee, let's move on to the next slide.
So having said a lot of information and too many statistics to remember, here's what I do when setting up a client to make sure that their strategy is successful. Have a plan. Social media and digital marketing can be overwhelming. It goes back to setting up a postcard or a direct mail campaign. What am I trying to accomplish? Put together a content calendar. I'm going to sit down for the next 30 days and say, I'm going to put together a social media plan. Monday's going to be a video, Tuesday's a photo, Wednesday's a question, Thursday I'm going to remind them about our website, and Friday I'm going to ask them to volunteer. And I'm going to pick and choose what I post each day. And remember, even on Facebook, schedule that out. We can do that Sunday evening and schedule for the whole entire week. Then I'm going to ask you to be consistent. Social media marketing is diet and exercise. We have to plan it in our day all day long and remember to do it. And give your time a time allotment. I'm going to spend 20 minutes. I'm not going to get lost on these social platforms. I'm not going to be on Pinterest buying things I can't afford or vacations I can't take. And I'm going to be consistent with my marketing efforts. I'm going to take more pictures or empower my board members to say, hey, when you're out in our local park, send me all the pictures that you take or videos that you take. I'm going to try to build a little bit of a YouTube strategy in the next year, Kymberlee, because guess what? YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. So building or starting a small YouTube strategy is important to me, your social media marketer. Get your clients, get your community, get your business partners to be social, right? If we can practice just a little bit ourselves, it'll make everybody more successful at this endeavor. Make sure at every event you have for your Park Foundation, you create a social opportunity, right? We can even, I've seen it, some of the Park Foundations near us, they'll create just out of like a box, they'll take a box and cut it and they'll make a little bit of a frame and they'll have a cute saying on it so that they have a couple of those frames at their events that say, you know, support your local park. It has your little logo glued on. It's homemade. It's made out of a Pinterest idea, but it's a cute way to get people to be more social at your events. Use a hashtag at your events that you can have people share online to create some buzz, to create some engagement of your events. And then the biggest support you have is your analytics, to be able to look and see, am I being successful? Do they like what I'm saying as the Park Foundation as I put these messages and these pictures out online? And guess what? Change if you need to. If something's not working or you see within your analytics that, gosh, they love looking at trees more than they look at benches, be able to be flexible and change your approach We didn't have this 10 years ago, right? We did a postcard and we had a mailing over the garbage can. 90% of the time it was the woman tossing it in the garbage and we never knew why she didn't like it. But today we have social media analytics and you can look at them and you can say, they love when I talk about this. They don't like when I talk about that. I know who my audience is by age, by where they're living and breathing and what they like to do. And then I can change course if I need to be more successful.
Well, thank you so much, Kymberlee, for the overview with respect to the importance of a social media campaign. When we speak about getting your clients or getting your donors or getting your citizens and volunteers in your community social, you know, one of the first things that you all could do either as members or prospective members of the National Association of Park Foundations is subscribe to our social media pages as well. We have some real strong social media analytics behind the messages that we're sending, the best practices that we're sharing. So I encourage you all to, at a minimum, like our Facebook page. Kymberlee, thank you so much. We're going to transition now into our case statement, and I invite Amber Miller to join our call.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Amber.
Hello, thank you for having me today. A little bit about myself. I was the former director of the Omaha Parks Foundation, executive director and founder. During that time, we found when we first started the foundation that we absolutely needed to support our organization with a case statement. So we had to strategically develop this case statement. It's the most important document a nonprofit has. And it should be the very first thing you consider doing shortly after you go through your process of getting your organization started, is getting that case statement developed. And again, it gives a picture of your organization. It gives you the information that a donor or a prospective member, now that I sit on the National Association of Park Foundations Board of Directors, we're trying to encourage members to join our organization. And that in itself is the same idea as you're writing it, that you need to develop your case statement. You move out. Go ahead, Donald, advance the slide. The true attributes of a case statement, you need, go ahead, Donald, move it up, is first of all, you absolutely need, it's written for donors or slash as you're going through members. You need to organize yourself to make sure you're reaching these donors. It has to clearly illustrate your mission and your vision about what your organization's about. You need to tell that story as you go out. You need to make it a point in your document that you need to tell those donors why you need that funding, and you need to put in there the outcomes that you're seeking from their investment. You need to be able to do this in a short and concise, clear way, not to turn a reader off, right off, but you need to make it clear and concise and short and snappy, because the first couple of paragraphs is going to be the chance that you get for a donor or a potential member to read about that organization and want to know why they're going to want to join. You got to offer strong reasons to make a potential funder or a potential member want to join your organization. You got to build on that with successes. Go ahead, Donald.
Amber, there's a question that came in from one of our friends up in Wisconsin.
Sure.
When we speak of a case statement, what does it look like?
A case statement can take in various forms. You can it can be a small, and I'll hold up the one that we just finished, a small, smaller document, an 8.5 by sheet folded together. It can be a larger 8.5 by 11 with 4 or 5 pages. There is no set amount of pages, but I can tell you that you want to keep it short. You don't want to go probably over 6 pages in total, because again, you'll lose that reader right off the bat if you're not making that compelling statement at the very beginning. So
Awesome.
I hope I've answered that. As we go through the slides, I'll bring up the one that we just finished for our organization, the National Association of Park Foundations, and give everyone a chance to take a look at that.
Thank you, Amber.
Components of your an effective case statement. Before I get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the process of actually, before you list the different components, but the process that we took on actually writing it. You should select one writer for this. I've been in both groups where it's a group trying to writing, and that never works. Everybody's got great ideas and they want to input, but let's just narrow it down to one writer to start with. You got to determine who the stakeholders are in the process. Develop a committee to help you formalize this process as you go along. The committee can submit ideas, and that's the way that we chose with the National Park NAPF. To go by committee, submitting our ideas, determining all the necessary components as we move into the development of the case statement. Gather your information. There are going to be pieces in it. You're going to want to list what that challenge or that opportunity is. You're going to want some testimonials to add into the case statement. You'll want to maybe even use some statistics along the way to show why your park foundation is in need of funding particular initiatives or projects that you're out there formulating with this case statement. Then have that writer put together a first draft and then take it back to that committee for revisement. And at the very, very end, make sure that your board of directors is on board with that case statement. They bought into it, they like it, and they're the ones that's going to take that out and spread it to their constituents, their funders, their acquaintances, their volunteers. So they want to feel comfortable using that as their soundbite. So make sure you have them on board as well. Now,
another question, Amber, and how important when we do develop this case statement is it that we are consistent with our branding with all the other forms of media that we're giving to our donors and to our general public? How important is the case statement in the way it looks and the way it feels to be consistent with the rest of our marketing plan?
That's a great question. And, you know, we've had that comment too, and Kymberlee pointed that out as well. Your case have the same look somewhere, whether it's your logo, it's the colors, the same tagline should be utilized throughout all of your documents that you're taking out. So it can build that consistency and that look. So anytime you're out and about in the community and someone sees your logo or someone sees an initiative document or your case statement, they're going to know it's from your organization and you've started to brand yourself. So it's very important to kind of keep that in your mind when you're developing this, that you try to utilize that same thing. You know, your case statement is, in a way, like Kymberlee was talking, it's going to be mini branding in everything you do. You can modify it to take on a one-page out just to find a sponsorship, or you can modify it to put it on a postcard to mail out a annual commitment to make a donation to your organization. So keep that same look and feel all throughout, and with your social media as well.
Thank you.
You know, when you're actually now sitting down to write the case statement, you need to start with an emotional opening. If you're an organization that you're looking for funding for a particular initiative or a project, you need to start with that emotional. Why is it necessary for this, or for you to fund this organization? Again, a funder or a potential volunteer or donor is only going to read the first couple of paragraphs before, to find out about your organization before they make that decision. So it's important to get that emotional opening done and out there. It can be even as we just finished, it was a challenge. What is the challenge of the National Association of Park Foundations? What can we offer? Why is it necessary for members to join us? And what are they going to find when they come to us as the leader of park foundations? So it can be an opportunity that you're writing, a challenge you're writing, or an emotional story. Go ahead. Always, 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 you have to clearly state what your mission and vision is to capture that, to capture the funders, to capture the hearts. You know, they have to align with you. So it's very important to list that mission and vision. Go ahead, Donna. The history of the organization, it can be just a brief, short couple of sentences, or you can expand on it if you have a long history of the organization. But most of us, as brand new park foundations, we don't have a long history. We are just now starting, or we've been up and running for a short time. And there are some stronger park foundations that have been out there for quite some time. But you need to list when you were incorporated, and a little bit of history about the town that you're in, or the organization itself. Anything that you can do in a couple of sentences is always good. Go ahead. Explanation of the programs itself. You want to tell the reader what your programs are, or what you're offering in membership. You need to do it by bullet point, not going heavily into it. Remember that you're going to have a no more than probably a 6-page document, most of the time 4 pages. So you can bullet point here, and you can lead the reader to come to you and ask additional questions. The outcomes and the proof of support. You need to show why your organization is a worthwhile organization. You want to share your successes that you have, so other organizations will know the strength that stands in your organization. If you're trying to get members, you know what you've accomplished. What can you offer your members? Those type of things are extremely important. Again, you don't have to expand on them in depth. You can do that at a later time, but you do want to enough to grasp a possible new member or a donor or funder to support your organization. You want to tell them why you need new members, or why you need this funding that you're trying to make this case statement for. Is there a particular project that you're trying to develop with the support of your local parks and rec? Or is it volunteers trying to put forth a brand new park and they are seeking support? There's many financial needs, and keep remembering now, we're a membership organization, the NAPF is, and a lot of our organizations offer some type of membership as well. So you just need to tweak your document accordingly. Go ahead, Donna. The means of support, you always make sure that you've got your social media information on there, your telephone number on there, your website on your case of support, where they can make this support, where can they donate to, where can they call and get more information. That is very, very important, not to leave that information off. As well as it's always good to list your board of directors. If you have an advisory board, people like to know who's supporting your organization, who sits on that board of directors. You'd be surprised at how much interest that really instills in different people. So don't forget that information as well.
Amber, our friends from Toledo ask, when it comes to talking about or recognizing in our case statement accomplishments, are awards and recognitions appropriate to include?
Oh, absolutely. Anything that shows the success, I mean, my view is absolutely, I'd list that. I wouldn't go into great depth, but it's great to highlight that you're an award winner, an organization for best parks in your community, or that you're a gold medalist. Many, many things. Absolutely, you should list those accomplishments, because funders, if they think that you have earned recognition, they are going to be more willing to support your organization that if you're showing that as well. Go ahead. Like I mentioned before, we just completed with our committee the first case statement for our organization, came up with our tagline of start, build, and grow. And the picture that you're seeing is the brochure itself. As we go through it, we got our logo. We've listed what our challenge is, or the opportunity of why you should join our organization. You can see the colors in this case statement is flowing with our actual logo. We've listed our vision and mission. We listed our successes, or what we can offer our members, and our successes to date of what we've accomplished thus far. A way of how to expand and get a hold of us, why you need to join our organization. There's a couple of paragraphs dedicated just for that. And then, of course, our contact information. Most importantly is our testimonials. That is very important. If you have testimonials, you have your award winner, those type of things are very, very important, because it strengthens your organization in the eyes of others. And of course, we've listed our board of directors and our advisory council as well. I want you to remember again that your case statement is the document that's out there for you to cast a global document to tell about yourself and to share your vision with potential funders and prospects and members. And in return, you're asking for their gift or their membership. So it's an extension of yourself, and it should be really scrutinized and making sure that you've hit all the key components and following all the marketing expertise with the branding and the colors and so forth. So again, to me, it's the one most important document that you put yourself, that you're selling yourself first, and it's what everyone is going to see first, and it's your soundbite. So if you got any questions, feel free to give them to Donald, or get in touch with us, and we'd be glad to help you out.
Well, Amber, thank you so much for your input and certainly your expertise in this area. I would like to remind all of those who are on the call today, members of the National Association of Park Foundations and those who aren't, that the National Association of Park Foundations is prepared to help you put your plan together, put your case statement together, help you design it, provide you with necessary best practices. If indeed you want us to work with you on that, we can make arrangements to actually help you. One of the things that we, again, don't want to forget is how we recognize our donors And we're very grateful for Recognition Services Group for sponsoring this webinar and sponsoring the National Association of Park Foundations. For further information, and again, I will be able to post this entire webinar on our website, but for your information, if you'd like to talk with anyone with Recognition Services Group on how you can best recognize your donors, please contact Charles Lustig, and his email is charles.recognitionservices@gmail.com. If indeed you're contemplating on becoming a member, the National Association of Park Foundations is available to talk with you about that at 630-965-1000, and we will be able to put you in touch with our membership sales representatives who can help you regardless of what state or what city you are located in. Also, regardless of what state your current park foundation is. If you're a startup, if you're in process of developing your strategies, or if you're an up and running and strong park foundation currently, the National Association of Park Foundation memberships could certainly help you. We are very grateful for your involvement in today's webinar, and I do invite you to, again, go ahead and ask any questions that you might have with regards to our webinar today, and any of the questions that you might have pertaining specifically to the experts that were on the call today. Are there any other further questions? Please type them in to your question section on the control panel. There is a question, Amber, that came up. Is the case statement etched in stone? Can you change it from year to year as your priorities of your park foundation change?
Absolutely. It's just you need to make sure that it's more economical, you know, that you don't print 2,000 of them right from the beginning. But what I would suggest more, instead of changing the case statement if your priorities change, is when I was executive director, what I did was if we started developing, say for instance, a playground initiative, we would develop a mini case statement or a mini initiative sheet to talk about that particular project, and to go out to handing out for funders or volunteers or whatever. And it would have the same look and feel as your case statement, but it would be about the particular project. So if you kept your case statement in general terms, just about mission, vision, and so forth, of what the components that we went over, but then develop pieces to add on to that, and then you've branded yourself with different pieces. So you can put a packet together when you go out and talk to a sponsor or a funder about a project or sponsoring a particular project. You can develop a little package, and you can also add the case statement as well about the organization in general.
Thank you, Amber. There is another question that's come through from Rita. Rita asks a social media question. And the question is, do you have any suggestions for small organizations that do not have full-time social media experts? Kymberlee, I'm going to give a shot at this one, and then maybe you can support me. Rita, with regards to your social media and let's just say people within your circle of influence, your volunteers, perhaps maybe even your board members, your social media on a daily basis, maybe even on a every other day, can actually be managed by your savvy volunteers and or board members. Kymberlee, am I on the right track with that?
Donald, you're always on the right track.
Thank you.
I'd highly recommend that to be true. So I didn't want to come across as if you needed to have somebody that's an expert in this area. It's more diet and exercise of just making sure that you designate, even if you split it up between a couple people and say, you know, I'm Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the other person or people can do the rest of the week. It's just really giving a system and some structure in place to be able to put out any content at all around the Park Foundation that you represent. So I agree with you, Donald. I think that's a great idea. Or, you know, we've got interns for some of our local parks that are interested in just helping out.
Thank you so much. And a note for everyone, to share best practices, please feel free to ask for approval to join the members only group section Facebook page of the National Association of Park Foundations, and we'll be more than able to kind of bounce around different best practices and different questions specifically like this, different comments pertaining to any question amongst us as members in order to help strengthen our membership across the country as well. We do have another question, Amber. You might be able to weigh in on this. The question pertains to some organizations who are advanced enough to actually produce an annual report. How does the annual report work with the case statement? There was a plan to use the annual report as a tool for recruiting donors. How are they used differently?
In my experience, the annual report is an update to donors about what you've accomplished for the year, where, you know, to restate your successes, also to give you a little bit more in depth into some of your financials, maybe listing your donors. That is just another piece in your arsenal of different documents that you can use. It's not a total verbiage and component of the case statement itself, but it does utilize different parts. But I think the annual report more or less gives your organization an update to let people know where you've been for the past year.
Thank you so much. Another question for social media. Are there any social media management tools that you would recommend, such as Sprout Social?
That's a good question. So yes is the answer that you probably want to hear. No is the answer for these reasons. We have learned over the past, especially 5 years, that if we used some plug-and-play system like a Hootsuite or a Sprout Social or a scheduling platform, that Facebook doesn't like it. As much as people think Facebook is an easy platform to use, it's a very difficult marketing vehicle. Facebook would like Kymberlee to talk to Donald and not Kymberlee to communicate with the National Association of Park Foundations. It's a difficult block for us. So I say that to say when you post, even for the clients that we manage here in Chicago, we actually go to Facebook to post on Facebook, and then may use something like Sprout Social or Hootsuite to cast out the different platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Google+, LinkedIn. But if you remember back a little bit ago, I said every one of those platforms has a different voice. And I know that can be time-consuming and overwhelming, but you're more effective if you say, you know what, this sounds like a lot of work, Kim. I don't have time for it. I'm really going to focus on 2 platforms, and I'm going to pick Facebook because it's super visual, and I'm going to pick Instagram because it had a 300% growth last year. I'm going to get real specific and good at those. Then we can just have you go to Facebook and Instagram and not have to use the third-party app. So I know it sounds a little overwhelming, but yes, there are vehicles available, but as your marketing social media expert, I say you need to go on each of these platforms, and you need to be specific to the culture that they have. Facebook, Backyard Barbecue, Twitter, real-time news and promotion, LinkedIn, I'm completely professional. I would never post my meatloaf on LinkedIn, and Instagram is all pictures. So 2 answers, but your answer is yes, but I'm going to give you the hard work one.
Thank you so much, Kymberlee, and thank you all so much for your questions. I know we aren't going to have enough time to get to all of them, but please feel free to use my email address, which is on your screen currently, dortale@the-napf.org, to communicate with me and or any one of our board members or volunteers, certainly to communicate with all of our sponsors as well if you have questions with regards to donor recognition services, social media, accounting. These are all things that we as a National Association of Park Foundations can certainly help you with. We are at the end of our webinar. I do encourage all of you who perhaps maybe are not members as yet to look into membership at the National Association of Park Foundations. We are all about helping start your park foundation or help you become much more stronger through strategy. I want to thank Amber Miller and Kymberlee Raya for your support during this webinar. And thank you all very much for attending. Have a great day, and let's make a difference together. Thank you.